Hi there, Bill Hitchcock. We've got a fantastic program for you. We're going to be covering a whole lot of ground real quick. It's all about sea level rise, and I know that's a very controversial topic for a lot of folks. It's a political topic for the world, but we're going to be talking about, is it science or is it science fiction or science fact? Is it man-made or is it natural? And we're going to get into detail with these things. We're going to be using people such as NOAA and NASA and Sea Grant and a lot of government agencies going through the history of things. So hopefully within a brief period of time, we're going to be able to cover a whole lot of things. Let's start off with probably the best summation of the coastline, a sea level rise, erosion, whatever that you can come up with. This is from the publication Coast Watch from North Carolina Sea Grant. Let's take a look at it. They say the topography of North Carolina's modern coastal plain is the direct product of previous coastal systems as sea level rose and fell. That's very key, causing the coastal system to migrate back and forth across the continental margin. The processes of climate change, fluctuations in sea level, ocean dynamics, and frequency and intensity of storms dictated when coastal waters flooded or drained the river valleys, when shorelines advanced or receded, when ecosystems evolved or migrated, and when barrier islands moved landward or seaward. Now that's a mouthful, and it's 3 or 4 sentences I think are the best description that could be given for the coast of North Carolina. Because one of the things that doesn't seem to be attributed to, because I've lived on the coast of North Carolina for over 42 years, and I get upset when of recent you hear people blaming everything on climate change and sea level rise. Everything. Well, let's take a look at this. What you're looking at right now is 160 years of 1,500 tropical storms that have occurred in the North Atlantic that have, one way or another, impacted North Carolina. Yes, underneath all of those lines, that hodgepodge of lines and whatnots, is North Carolina. Do you think that's had an impact on our coast? Do you think that's helped to form some inlets, move some islands, beach erosion, beach accretion? Yeah, we don't seem to hear a lot about things such as that. But let's go on in a little bit further. It's referred to as the fall line. Listen to this. This is from the Audubon Society. They say that as recent as 60 million years ago, the sea covered much of eastern North Carolina, reaching as far inland as the fall line, where the rolling hills of the Piedmont begin. Again, that's from the Audubon Society, North Carolina Audubon Society, and they're talking about the fall line that over the past years, this is 60 million years, that the water has come on in. Let's take a look at that map. Do you see that line? That line that's just going just to the left of Smithfield, just to the left of Fayetteville? That is the fall line. In other words, 60 million years ago, that was the beach. Yes, in years past, in millions of years past, the sea level has risen and come all the way to that fall line where the Piedmont and the coastal plain meet. And I know that's a little bit surprising, but here's what's even more surprising for some folks. If that fall line looks familiar, now, although I'm just showing North Carolina, it goes up through Virginia and all the way down into Florida. If that fall line looks familiar, it's I-95. Think about that next time you're either traveling up and down I-95 or traveling across it. That used to be the coastline. So does sea level rise occur? Why, yes. Yes, it does. We have historical fact to prove that. And speaking of fact, I want to go to Aurora, North Carolina. It is south of Washington, Little Washington, north of New Bern. You see the little Google map there with the arrow there. Aurora. Aurora has the Aurora Fossil Museum. Now, a lot of you folks might remember PCS phosphate, where they've been digging. They've gone by several different names. I don't have them in front of me right now, where they've dug. Well, during the process of digging, let's see if I have that there. No, I don't have that there. What they have found are baleen whale bones. They have found sharks. Megalodon, as you're seeing a picture right there. This is what they have found in Aurora, North Carolina. So that's hard evidence where where the coast used to be, where Aurora is basically midway between that fall line and the present day coastline. So yes, we have had sea level rise that's come all the way on into North Carolina. Now, how much would it take to get back to that fall line? How high would the sea level have to rise? Well, it would have to rise 70 meters. For it to go back to that fall line, and I'm showing you a map here that goes almost, well, this is east of Raleigh. It would have to rise 70 meters. And what would it take for the sea level to rise 70 meters? All the ice on the world to melt. If all the ice on the planet melted, it would go to the fall line. So that's a worst case scenario. Number one, it's happened before. It happened before man. So to say that sea level rise is a man-made venture cause, I back off of that. I'll back off. We're going to get in a little bit more detail about that. In fact, what we're going to do right now, we're going to get ready to go into the different gauges and satellites that we've employed to measure the sea level rise. Let's take a look. Alrighty, you are looking at the old and the new tide gauges that they would have in stations around the country and around the world. The old style, as you're seeing right now, was literally just a little bobber in a tube that would go up and down with a tide that had a little scribbler that would mark the tide. It was a mechanical process. The new methodology uses acoustics in a tube where it's sound on down and it's computer generated and sent up via satellite. So that's now how they do the tide gauges. Of course, we've got satellites. In 1993, we started getting satellite imagery, and it is called, hang on a second, the Sentinel-3. There's a Sentinel-3A and a Sentinel-3B that are up, they're 180 degrees, they're polar opposites, quite literally, from each other, that are constantly measuring and monitoring the sea level of the world. Now, let's go on and take a look at this. This chart that you are looking at right now is measuring from satellites, from the Sentinel-3A and B, the sea level rise from 1993 until present. And you can see that it's risen approximately 100 millimeters. Unfortunately, well, let me just read you this. It says that tide gauges have measured sea level over the last 200 years, with some records extending back to 1807. One disadvantage to tide gauges, though, is that they only provide regional coverage. The satellite altimetric record, on the other hand, provides accurate measurements of sea level with near global coverage. The disadvantages of satellite data, however, is that satellite ocean altimetry records only go back to 1992. Now, for those of you who saw the program that we did on seawater and air temperature rising, the problem that we have with that is that we didn't have scientific measurements until 1880. We didn't have digital thermometers until 1973. A lot of what we have is just recent information. The satellite imagery, which I would trust more than the old style of tide gauges, has only been around since 1993. And here we have people trying to extrapolate into the year 2100 and on into the future. This is my opinion, is that we don't have enough hardcore scientific evidence to be making all sorts of proposals that are going around the world, proposals that would tax trillions of dollars, change world powers and all off of information that's only 20, 25 years old. Now, we do know that sea level rise happens. We just talked about that. It's happened without man's interference. 60 million years ago, we didn't have industrial man running the earth, polluting the earth and putting out carbon. Which brings me to another thing. I think it's very, very dangerous. And again, this is my editorial comment here. It's very, very dangerous to get politics into science, especially when politics starts funding science. Then we have a little bit of problem there. I want you to take a look at this. I'm going to scroll on down here. The CO2 emissions chart, I wanted to show you this. This is from Statista. Take a look at this. You can see in 2006, 2005 that we're at over 6,000 million metric tons of CO2 emissions. Well, that's a lot. Well, take a look in 20 years, at less than 20 years. We've reduced it by 20%. That's the United States. That's by ourselves. That was no accord, no Paris Treaty, no nothing. We did that on our own. So we are lowering our CO2 emissions, which is being blamed for global warming and the sea level rise. All right. So in conclusion, I want to, and also, by the way, if you want to point fingers at who's the at fault for the most CO2 emissions, well, you're going to have to look at China. They produce over a third of the world's CO2 emissions. Ours is going down, theirs is not. But that's a topic for another subject. So in summation, yes, sea level rise. Is it real? Yes, it's happened before. We have proof of it. The fall line. We have fossils. We have all sorts of proof to show that, yes, the tides come in that far, just outside of Smithfield. And if all the ice melted in the world, it would go back to there again. Food for thought. Other food for thought. Did man cause it? No. So therefore, it is a natural occurring phenomenon. And as you may recall in the prior show, we showed you 500 million years of temperature. And for the most part, probably 80, if not 90% of that 500 million years has been warmer than it is right now. So I give you this as food for thought. Maybe man didn't cause the problem that is happening right now. Maybe we don't really have enough accurate information because we only have 20, 25 years of digital technology, satellite technology. Before, mercury thermometers with little hash marks, they've been proven to be off by 1, 2, even 2.5 degrees, just a mercury thermometer. When they're doing seawater temperatures, throwing out buckets, canvas buckets, and within a matter of minutes, those temperatures vary. That's what we relied on for 100, 150 years. So maybe we need to back off a little bit, stop the scare tactics, and just use our brain and use our technology to see exactly where we're at. I'm Bill Hitchcock. This isn't a matter of me being right. It's a matter of getting facts out to you. If you have some information that we can convey to the public, please send it to me. You can email me, billhitchcock@mail.com, billhitchcock@mail.com, billhitchcock@mail.com. Of course, you can post your comments at YouTube where these videos are originating. I would love to hear from you. Enough of me. Till next time, see ya.
Post your questions, comments, and concerns here on YouTube or email them directly to Bill Hitchcock at this address.